Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Most of you probably know me at this point, but I'm Becca Custer. I'm the AmeriCorps member and Community Energy Coordinator with the Vermont Natural Resources Council, and we help to coordinate VECAN, Vermont Energy and Climate Action Network, which is a network of town energy committees across the state and the organizations that help to support them. This workshop is the fifth in our workshop series, our 2022 workshop series. And today we're discussing GreenSavingSmart, which is the new statewide financial and energy coaching program, which is administered by the Vermont's 5 community action agencies. And this new program helps to Vermonters most affected by energy burdens access rebates, incentives, and services that can help them not only save money, but also reduce their dependence on fossil fuels. So we are super lucky today to be joined by Sue Minter, the Executive Director of Capstone Community Action, Kelsey Gibb, the Financial and Energy Coaching Statewide Team Lead, and Laurie Kozar, who is one of the financial and energy coaches. They're going to tell us a lot more about this exciting program and provide information on how you all can help connect members in your communities with the critical services that the program offers. So a quick overview of the agenda for today. We're first going to hear from Sue, who's going to share about how the program kind of fits into this larger state context, specifically the Climate Action Plan and the work of the Just Transition Subcommittee. Then Kelsey will provide an overview of the program. We'll have a little bit of time for Q&A between Kelsey's part and then Laurie, so please feel free to put your questions in the chat as they come up, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. And then Laurie will walk us through some financial and energy coaching exercises, and then we'll come back as a group to discuss and let you have the rest of your afternoon. So that is it, and with that, I will turn it over to Sue. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Becca, and hello, everybody out there in Zoom land. I'm so glad you joined us. I want to appreciate you, not just for joining us, but for being activists in your community. As Becca said, I am Sue Minter, and I am the Executive Director of Capstone Community Action, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a minute. But I also am really proud to have been one of the founding members of our Waterbury Local Energy Action Partnership, LEAP, which was one of the first really significant ones in the state and has gone many directions since its humble beginnings when I was a part of it. But I am just amazed by the work that you all do and how rooted in community, your community you are, and how committed to saving our planet and climate action that you are connecting those dots. And I'm very excited to sort of begin your day by kind of connecting you to this larger picture of climate justice. Capstone Community Action is one of 5 community action agencies in Vermont, and we serve Central Vermont. So that's Washington, Lamoille, and Orange County, and a few towns in Windsor County. We, all of the community action agencies, and we're called VECAN, the Vermont Community Action Partnership, VCAP, sorry, not VECAN, you're VECAN, we're VCAP. And we are very much rooted in the civil rights movement, established in 1965 from the war on poverty from the middle of the 1960s under President Johnson. And our work really focuses on meeting people in crisis, whether it's food, housing, heat, but also helping give people the tools to get out of poverty. And this program that we're going to be talking about today really fit into that part of our mission. I want you to know that the area of, I came to Capstone, I do want you to know I served in the legislature as well. I've worked very closely with VNRC. I was on the board of the Vermont Conservation Voters, which is under the VNRC umbrella, and have been very much a part of kind of climate action through my work also as the Secretary of Transportation. But this has been such an important time. I came to work at Capstone about 4 years ago, and in our strategic planning process, we really identified the need to think about environmental and climate justice in the work that we do. And we've taken this on really in a variety of ways. I think many of you are familiar with weatherization programs that the community action agencies implement subsidized home weatherization programs for very and low income people. which has really been growing significantly as part of the climate agenda. We've also implemented transportation initiatives, specifically something called Mileage Smart, where we are helping subsidize and incentivize the purchase of used cars, which are much more affordable to our clients, but that are energy efficient, the Prius and electric hybrids and even all electric vehicles. So that program kicked off about 2.5 years ago. And I think it taught us a lot and was part of the evolution of this program, which you'll hear more about, which really tries to bring one of the important tools we work with, which is empowering our clients with better understanding of their finances and financial opportunities from asset building to savings to credit, with how to mix that with energy savings and reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So that's the nexus of this program, where we are trying to connect the programs that we have in Capstone, but don't always think. And we're so lucky that in really great conversation with the legislature, frankly, the Senate Natural Resources and Energy Committee, Senator Bray, the chair, Senator Westman, really were champions of this project and said, we are going to give you a 3-year pilot. So we're in year 1 of a 3-year pilot that we've received from support from the legislature. And we're really just getting started, and it is so great that we are connecting with you at the grassroots to understand how to support the clients we serve and your neighbors. I also serve, as you may know, on the Climate Council, along with the NRC's Joey Miller. And I did, in that position, serve as the co-chair of the subcommittee on a just transition. So I wanted to just end with some of the larger picture of the Climate Council, in which we are trying to really bring together the goals of equity at this historic time when we really have recognized, and frankly, through some of what happened during this pandemic and beyond, the disparity of our economy and of our neighbors, bring that together with the folks who are committed to saving our climate, like you. And in our work with the Climate Council, we created something called Guiding Principles. It's a very long document. I'm just going to leave you with the 6 key principles so that you are cognizant of these and thinking of these in your work, not only today, but beyond. We're working on ensuring inclusive, transparent, and innovative engagement. We're working to create accountable and restorable policies and programs. We're really working to move at the speed of trust, to not get ahead of the folks who we are trying to serve. We want to incorporate solidarity and create inclusionary spaces, particularly honoring Indigenous cultures and history. We want to prioritize the most impacted people first and focus on developing support for workers and their families as we transition to a green economy. So thank you all for being a part of this, for everything you're doing in your community and in your lives. The most amazing thing is that each and every one of us can take steps to save our planet, and it's never been more important than now. And we appreciate you, we thank you, and have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sue. Great. So we'll just pull up the presentation. And while Becca is doing that, I will say hello to everyone. My name is Kelsey Gibb, and I am the statewide team lead of GreenSavingSmart, which is a new financial and energy coaching initiative. So first off, just to give you all a little background on me, I grew up in Rutland. I'm from Vermont. And after leaving the state for a couple of years, I returned here to grow my career and reconnect with the community. And after working for Vermont Natural Resources Council and recently graduating from UVM's Sustainable Innovation MBA program, I wanted to use my newfound knowledge and skills to make an impact in Vermont and work towards a climate solution. So I was really thrilled when I joined Capstone Community Action to lead GreenSavingSmart, which is a new state-funded 3-year pilot program that aims to equitably reduce the state's dependence on fossil fuels and empower low and moderate income Vermonters with the tools to take control of their personal finances. So I'm really excited to dive into this program with all of you today. So if we go to the next slide, so I'll just really briefly go over the agenda. We kind of already talked about this, but I'll give an overview. We will have some Q&A, and then Laurie will do some interactive financial and energy coaching exercises, and then we will end the discussion by talking about how you all can connect your community members with GreenSavingSmart. So let's get going. Great. Okay, so like I mentioned, I work for Capstone Community Action, which is based in Barrie. And like Sue was talking about, Capstone is one of the 5 community action agencies that make up VCAP, or the Vermont Community Action Partnership. And so together, these 5 organizations have programs and services that help raise Vermonters out of poverty. So we have some examples of different types of programming. We have, like Sue said, we have weatherization, housing assistance, food shelves, Head Start, VITA, the Vermont Income Tax Assistance Program. There's so many really amazing programs that these 5 organizations offer to Vermonters. If we could go to the next slide. So here we have our 5 community action agencies. So we have Brock Community Action that serves Rutland and Bennington counties, Capstone Community Action that serves Washington, Orange, and Lamoille counties, as well as Granville and Hancock in Addison County, Pittsfield and Rutland County, and Barnard, Bethel, Rochester, Royalton, Sharon, and Stockbridge in Windsor County. We have Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity, also known as CVOEO, that serves Addison, Chittenden, Franklin, and Grand Isle counties. Northeast Kingdom Community Action, which is NECA, serving Orleans, Essex, and Caledonia counties. And finally, we have Southeastern Community Action, also known as SEVCA, which serves Windham and Windsor counties. Just to give you a sense of the territories that all these organizations serve. We could go to the next slide. Awesome. Okay, so before we jump into the program overview of GreenSavingSmart, I first wanted to take a minute to discuss energy burden. So as I'm sure many of you are aware, energy burden is a significant problem and barrier for low-income households. And it's a problem that GreenSavingSmart is working to address. So energy burden is how much you spend on energy divided by your income. So it's important to note that when your energy burden is 6% or above, it's considered high. And when your energy burden is above 10%, that is considered severe energy burden. So the median energy burden nationally, according to ACEE's National and Regional Energy Burden Report, is 3.1%. However, the median low income energy burden is 8.1%. So that's right between that high and severe energy burden threshold, which means that low income households on average are spending disproportionately more money on their energy than non-low income households. So in addition, nationally, BIPOC communities feel even more of an energy burden, with 36% of Black households, 28% of Hispanic households, and 36% of Native American households experiencing a high energy burden, according to this report. So it's not only low-income communities, but also BIPOC communities that are feeling that disproportionate burden of paying energy on a national scale. We can go to the next slide. Great. So now let's talk about our Vermont neighbors and how they are affected by energy burden. So this graph here is from the U.S. Department of Energy's Low Income Energy Affordability Data Tool, also known as its LEAD tool, which shows 4 income brackets based on state median income on the x-axis and average energy burden on the y-axis. So you can see the energy burden is broken down into electricity in that dark blue color, gas is in the lighter blue color, and then other types of fuel sources are in the green color. So, I mean, what a big difference we see between the 0 to 30% state median income versus the 100+ state median income. Like, we can see that there's definitely a lot of severe energy burden with our low income neighbors. But what's also interesting is that even in that 80 to 100% state median income, we're still seeing a 6% energy burden. So even with our moderate income neighbors, we're seeing that high energy burden, which is really tough financially on Vermonters. So beyond energy burden, there are other financial barriers that make it really difficult for low and moderate income Vermonters to be able to make the kind of energy efficiency changes we need to meet our climate goals. So first of all, many energy efficient upgrades are expensive. So even though there are so many wonderful incentives and programs to help our community electrify and decrease their dependence on fossil fuels, navigating those services can be time consuming and overwhelming. When you're working multiple jobs, juggling kids, trying to make ends meet, maybe without reliable internet, it's hard to find the time to call, get information, and find the right programs that will meet your needs. Another issue is that a lot of people make their biggest energy purchase decisions under duress. So you don't really think about your hot water heater or your heating system or your car until they're not working. And when individuals don't have emergency funds or good credit in those crisis situations, it can be more difficult to make the more energy efficient choice when your priority is to keep your family warm and to get to work. So for all of these reasons, this is why we developed GreenSavingSmart, to help Vermonters navigate the complicated energy landscape while also building those long-term financial skills to set everyone up for future success, and to make sure our participants are ready to make the most energy efficient choice that best fits their family. We can go to the next slide. Awesome. So how does GreenSavingSmart work? So each of those 5 agencies that I talked about earlier will have a coaching specialist that will work one-on-one with low and moderate income participants, like I was saying, to build those long-term personal finance skills. So we're talking about budgeting, managing credit, increasing savings, but really through this energy efficiency lens. So we will be evaluating participant energy burden by analyzing their transportation costs. How much do they spend on gas? We'll also be looking at how much do car maintenance cost throughout the year, things like that, as well as heating and other fuel-based utility bills. And by doing this, we hope to empower our participants to reduce their carbon footprint and really take control of their finances. Laurie's going to go a little bit more in depth on this later, but I just wanted to outline a couple of the key components of these one-on-one sessions. So the most important factor is that these meetings will really be customized depending on the participant's goals. So defining goals and what participants are looking for is the most important. Then coaches will look at, income and expenses, that money in, money out, analyze the energy burden, work together to create an action plan, and then connect participants with appropriate partners with warm handoffs, and then follow up, continue that relationship. If we could go to the next slide. Awesome. And while we're talking about that the partner referral process, I just kind of wanted to outline a couple different types of referrals that we will be making. So, referrals to energy efficiency utilities, whether that's Efficiency Vermont, Burlington Electric Department, Vermont Gas, working with electric utility companies, like Green Mountain Power, Washington Electric, but there's so many more, smaller municipal electric utilities around Vermont that will probably have participants within all of those territories. So building those relationships with all of the electric utilities. Then we have financial institutions. So there are, many banks and credit unions across the state that offer financial products geared towards low-income community members as well as energy efficiencies. So, for instance, VSECU, who is a partner with us, offers a wide variety of credit building products, as well as environmental loans such as their home energy loan, to really support this bridge between personal finance and energy efficiency, which is great. We have weatherization. So each of the community action agencies has either an in-house or partner weatherization program. And so with the age of the housing stock in Vermont, we really see weatherization as a vital partner for our program. And for those moderate income participants, there are other programs like Energy Smart and I believe Heat Squad that can help find ways to weatherize those homes as well. And finally, electric vehicles. Sue mentioned this program, but Mileage Smart is great to help low-income Vermonters get into used hybrid and electric vehicles. And then there's also lots of other federal and state resources as well there. So this is not an exhaustive list. There are so many other partners that we will be working with to get our participants to where they need to go. We'll go to the next slide. And so the second component of our program, beyond those one-on-one sessions, are going to be our community webinars. So we will support our communities by hosting a series of financial and energy related virtual workshops and webinars for Vermonters. So each of our 5 coaches will be responsible for at least 3 of these events. So throughout the year, we'll have at least 15 different opportunities to learn about these financial and energy topics. Great. Okay, so what does GreenSavingSmart plan to accomplish? So during the development of this program, members of the community action agencies, as well as other stakeholders, gathered to create a theory of change. So from this process, an impact statement was created, which is Vermonters living with low and moderate incomes will experience greater quality of life, including greater financial stability and a cleaner environment. So GreenSavingSmart is really in this interesting position to be at the intersection of economic development and energy efficiency. And so there are many ways that we want to impact systemic change. So I have some of those listed, but just to mention a few, we're hoping to combat climate change, help people out of poverty, and improve quality of life. And then with quantitative outcomes, we're hoping to see lower heating bills, increase energy efficient vehicles and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And then in terms of qualitative outcomes, just an increased access to, information around different energy resources out there, and also reduced anxiety around personal finance. Personal finances can be a really difficult topic for a lot of people to discuss. So we're hoping to kind of ease that process for everyone. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so who is GreenSavingSmart? So here we have our coaching team so far. We have Laurie Kozar from Capstone, Eric Schultz, who is out of NETCA, and Anna Mejia at SEVCA. And we actually have two more coaches, our final two coaches. I saw Daryl on the call, which is really exciting. He just started this week. And then we'll have one more coach starting next week, which I'm really thrilled to have a team of such passionate individuals who all bring really diverse experience from different sectors, from the education sector, the solar sector, kind of the grassroots nonprofit sector, all of those perspectives coming to the team. So even though we all work 4 or 5 different agencies, technically, like we really do function as a team and support each other in this program. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. And now we have, who does GreenSavingSmart serve? So let's talk about the qualifications to participate in GreenSavingSmart. You've heard me talk a lot about low and moderate income. So these are the 2 criteria in order to work with our coaches. So the first one is you must live in Vermont. The second one is your annual income must be at or below 80% state median family income. There are 3 exceptions. So if you identify as being part of a single parent household, a BIPOC household, or a new American household, you can have an income up to 120% of that state median family income. So I provided an annual income chart below. So as you can see, GreenSavingSmart will be working with a pretty large range of Vermonters. If you look at a family of 4, up to 80%, that's $67,300 a year. And then in that 120% criteria, that's over $100,000 a year. So there might be people in our communities who don't typically work with community action agencies who will actually qualify for our program. So it's all about getting the word out and making sure we reach both the low and moderate income Vermonters. So at this point, I'm going to pause for a couple minutes and we'll take a few questions before I hand it over to Laurie to talk a little bit more about coaching and run us through interactive exercise.
Great, thanks. It's okay. I should stop sharing my screen, right? I'm going to ask some questions. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thanks for that great overview. I learned so much in that, and I think we're getting some questions in the chat. I guess one of the first questions we have is, how are people referred to the program?
Sure, and we'll go over a little bit more of the referral process at the end, but there are basically two ways. So either they can be referred through a partner program. So if it's another program within one of the community action agencies, there's an internal referral process. Otherwise, the way that you can get in contact with the program is to go through our website, which I'll have at the end. I'll have the website, and I have even some screenshots of where to go and how to do our eligibility form. And then, or you could just call your community action agency directly and be put in contact with the coaching specialist at that community action agency. But if you're unsure of which agency you fall under, going to our website is also a great option.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Spence. Who finances these coaches and how many clients per coach?
Sure, so this is a state-funded program, and we also have some additional funding through VSECU. And each coach, there isn't really a limit to the number of participants that each coach will be working with. Based on the numbers of traditional financial coaches at some of our community action agencies, we're expecting to have about a caseload of about 120 to 125 participants. Over the course of the 3 years of this pilot program, our target is to serve 1,000 participants.
Great. Diane said you mentioned that often people are too busy to negotiate assisting institutions, no time to see a coach. How can this organization go to them?
So, sorry, just clarify the question. So like how do we help them save time when working with other programs?
Maybe I'll let Diane unmute and ask that question if you want to rephrase it or ask it
Sure,
again.
let me rephrase it. It's just that you know, you mentioned people juggling kids and working 2 jobs, and maybe their car's not working well, and it sounds to me as if this means, okay, they're going to have to go apply to this program, and then maybe, you know, apply to go to, once the coaching is done, then they will be sent to referrals. That means they're going to have to go and apply to these referrals, but they can't do that. They don't have time. So is there a way that this program can reach out to them? Maybe, you know, leaving this information, this is available, and we can, I don't know. Have you thought that out?
Kelsey, would you like me to take that as one of the coaches?
Sure, yeah, go for it, Laurie.
So Diane, thanks for that question. It's a really good one. I think what we're hoping to do as coaches is that we already have experience or knowledge about the programs. So if they come to us, and we can act as an information hub and help guide them to the appropriate programs. You know, I think another question in the chat was about weatherization qualifications or eligibility for weatherization, and if Capstone's weatherization is eligible at 120% of FMI. No. Different eligibilities are part of the problem, that there are different eligibilities depending on region and depending on services. So, and the income, it's complicated. And so what we're hoping is that by providing sort of a one-stop shop, like the hub of the wheel, that we can help direct people, give them a warm handoff, not just say, hey, here's this other application, go online and fill it out, but really walk them through the process and hopefully hand them off to another person that can walk with them through those other programs to help them access services. That's really at the heart of what we're trying to do.
And then just going off what Laurie was just mentioning, and another more time, maybe efficient way to get some of this information is through the webinars, through the open webinars. If somebody just wants a little bit more information on one topic, that could be a great resource. But yes, totally agree with Laurie, like helping people, you know, kind of weed through everything that's available and just get to the heart of, okay, to meet your goal, this is the program you should focus on versus, you know, looking at 10 different programs. So I hope that answered your question, Diane. Oh, I think
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry to be a advocate here, but you talk about webinars. The people I'm thinking of do not have computers. They don't go on the internet. They don't participate in webinars. And you can send them, you can put flyers in their boxes and talk to them, walk by them. They're not interested. They're cutting down part of a tree to bring into their mobile home and heat their living room. They don't have time. And yes, they do. It will take, it's not a matter of them, you know, reaching out to you. They won't do it. They don't read papers. They don't, as I said, they're not on the internet. So there's got to be a way to go to them. And that's what I'm trying to get to.
Do you mind if I answer that question, Kelsey?
go for it.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Scharf. I'm an accredited financial counselor, and I've done financial counseling at Capstone for the last 8 years. And I'm the director of community economic development here now. So you're right that oftentimes it does require us to make the phone call, and we're happy to do that. We're happy to reach out to people so that if there's someone that you identify, we won't do a cold call. We won't just call someone randomly to say, hey, we have this service. But for example, if you know a family and you approach that family and say, there's this program, would you be open to having someone reach out to you? That's often how I have made connections with some of the lowest income folks, because you're right, they're living in a world of scarcity where making a phone call is the last thing that they have time to do or want to do. And if they're open to it, we're happy to make that connection directly to them. I will say, however, if they're not open to it, then they may not be the candidates for this program. If they really don't have the capacity to work with someone, we're not forcing anyone to be in this program. This is really around trying to help folks on a personal finance level, and at the same time help them identify resources that may be able to help them save money and reduce their reliance on fossil fuels. So the reality is, homeless people may not be a good candidate for this program, but someone who has a job, maybe some income, and would like to make some changes, or just really don't know how to necessarily access or understand, where they are financially in order to make some steps. This is what this program is for.
Great, thank you. I think we got there. I think I'm just going to ask 2 more questions, and then we'll move on to the next part of this workshop. But we have one from Stephen, who asked, will this program support people who wish to be involved in the coming community scale renewable energy program for low-income Vermonters?
I think we could have a conversation with that program and see if it's a good fit. Like I said, how our coaches work with participants really depends on their goals. So if somebody has a goal that they want to use renewable energy, that is something that we could explore. But I don't know if Laurie, if you'd want to jump in. But
yeah, I think we're open. It's a pilot program, so we're building it along as we go. And if there are partnerships that make sense, that are effective ways to engage with people or bringing needed services, I think we're completely open to working with our community partners. That's part of this outreach activity today, and talking with you and launching the program, and that we would be happy to talk with you. So if you have different ideas of ways that we can engage with clients who might be interested, where we might find them, we are so happy to talk with you. So please reach out to us.
Great, thank you. Okay, one more question. I see more questions coming in, and maybe we can get to some of these in the last part of the workshop when we talk about how to connect people in your community with the program. But one question, another one is about how about people who are renters, how will this help with weatherization for them, for example?
Sure. So I expect that we will have quite a few renters as participants in our program. So it'll just be about the types of programs and incentives that are geared towards them. So when it comes to weatherization, there are programs like 3E Thermal, who work with landlords on weatherization services. So that would kind of be a very natural fit to connect the landlord with that type of program. And then I think just in general with renters, it's going to depend, do they pay for their utilities, or are they included in the rent? Are there ways that they could save energy and reduce their bill? So just understanding what their situation is and trying to connect them with those programs. But luckily we do have, there are programs for landlords who have low income tenants. And I believe Efficiency Vermont also has some programs as well. So yeah, just trying to connect them to the right service.
Great. Okay, I think we can move on to Laurie's section, but thank you for answering those questions. And if we can get to more of them in the chat, we'll try to do that or later on.
Yeah, and hopefully my presentation will answer some of the questions that I'm seeing in the chat. I also recognize a couple folks that I know or I've worked with, their organizations. So thanks for being here, everybody. We're really excited to be launching our program. So I don't know if any of you subscribe to Bernie Sanders' newsletter that came out, I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe it was a week ago. Anyway, I noticed in there that Sue Rossi from Capstone Community Action was interviewed in there. And I think in that article, Sue really captured some of the challenges of working for a community action service agency, is that it is really complicated. And I think the woman who was asking us a question a little while ago, I'm sorry, I missed your name, you're off the screen now, but it's complicated and people are really busy. And there's a ton of information out there. Unfortunately, either people don't know about programs, they don't think they qualify, or the qualifications are confusing. Sometimes it's 120% of AMI, area median income, so it's dependent on region, or it's family median income, or it's federal median income. And those can all be really confusing. And I don't know that a lot of people have bandwidth to research it. It takes a lot of time and a lot of focus. And so that's one of the things this program's really hoping to do with the coaches, is to streamline that process. And if we could go to the slide deck, Becca, that would be great.
Yes, give me one moment.
Yep, thanks. Yeah, so I think people have really busy lives. You know, we're all pretty busy. There's a lot of information out there. You guys know about these. I think like the window dressers program. It's a great program. Efficiency Vermont has so many wonderful programs. You know, the upgrading your wood stove with an EPA certified wood stove. There are a bunch of different programs out there. EV incentives, just finding it all is challenging. So the goals of financial and energy coaching, we're really financial coaches first. We're really trying to improve our clients' financial capabilities, helping them help themselves by giving them knowledge and tools, helping participants to make changes, whether those changes are making changes in how they spend their money or how they track their money, how they make changes in their behavior around using electricity, hanging clothes out to dry instead of using an electric dryer, turning off lights when you leave a room, sort of starting to help peel apart some of those behaviors that they can take a hold of and they have control of. And then we're also really hoping to guide them to the services and programs that are out there for them, hoping that they can get a hold of those programs, take advantage of the savings. And of course, we're really also looking to reduce energy burdens, the cost, and reduce those carbon footprints, reduce emissions as much as we can. If we could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so basically what a coach is doing is providing experience with the programs, and providing support, building financial capacity, and solving those energy burden challenges is as unique as each client that we're going to serve. Everyone is going to be different. And I'm really excited about the program. I think, I can really share from a personal standpoint that I'm an environmentalist. I think fighting for climate change is really meaningful and important work. I think most of the people on this call probably agree with that if you're on an energy committee in your town. And I'm also one of those single parents who've had to struggle to make ends meet and struggle to heat my home. So I really empathize with a lot of our service sector here. I've also been in the position of being one of the clients. A number of years ago, I went through a divorce. I went to Capstone financial coaching to help me prepare to apply for a mortgage on my own. And because of that guidance, excellent guidance, I was able to qualify for a mortgage. And I closed on my home November 2018, excuse me. However, that building was so cold, so poorly insulated, we could not get the kitchen over 57 degrees, no matter how we tried. It just had no insulation in it. So now, as an end user, I've worked with Capstone Community Action. I have worked with Weatherization. I have worked with Heat Squad, who I see is on the call. Thank you guys, you're awesome. Efficiency Vermont, also on the call. Thank you, amazing. I've hired contractors to work with spray foam. I have completed a ton of DIY projects. And then my last exciting contact was working with Nito, who came and did blown in cellulose insulation in my walls. And that has really sealed up my building. And this is actually a photograph of my building. So that leads me to another important point, is the housing stock in the state of Vermont is really old. So much of it is so old and it's really under insulated. And so that's, weatherization is a huge part of what we're trying to bring forward to people. And although, we haven't changed the weatherization qualifier or eligibility criteria, we can at least help guide people to Efficiency Vermont's rebates or other different utility rebates that they can qualify for. We can also help guide them to DIY projects. Anyway, so if we could go to the next slide, Becca. Awesome, thank you. So basically, we've talked about the complexity of programs. So if you think about it, wayfinding through those programs, someone who understands eligibility criteria and the incentives, and really help to make that a possible experience for somebody where it's not overwhelming, but they can really move through that and get to where they're going. And I think that's really at the heart of it. We can help people make decisions about their future. We don't tell them what to do, but we can coach them how to get there. If we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we meet clients where they are. We build a monthly budget with our clients when they come into the program, whether that's saving for a large purchase like heat pump or new hot water heater, or transitioning from oil to an electric heat pump, whatever it is that they're looking to do, and improving their building's thermal envelope, purchasing a new EV. So there are a lot of moving pieces there, and it's going to be as unique as each client that we serve, what they're bringing to it. If we could go to the next slide, please. I put a lot of slides in here for you guys. So it's more than crunching numbers. Yes, we do ask our clients to bring their tax return when we meet with them. We want to see their pay stubs. We want to see their utility bills, their mortgage statements. We want to understand their tax bill and their escrow. We want to look at their automobile expenses, if they have a loan or a lease, what they're paying in maintenance and fuel usage, how far they're driving to work. All of these pieces come into play. But at the heart of all of that, coaches are building relationships. We're trying to help a client feel confident with making decisions. We are clarifying information with them. We're identifying areas of strength and areas where they can grow. And we also try to set with them SMART goals and share information about their options and what other opportunities are out there. Next slide, please. Okay, so a lot of what we end up doing in building this relationship with clients is, we're coaches. We recognize that everybody has different goals everybody learns differently. Everybody has different financial pictures. So we try to use different tools that sometimes, we're asking a bunch of questions of people. And if you could just bear with me, some of this might look a little bit like one of those, social media quizzes where you answer a bunch of questions and then you get a picture of what type of dog you would be if you were a dog, or, something along those lines. And I'm only sort of half kidding about that. We use a lot of different approaches to try and take the anxiety out of talking about your finances with you. And, we're really trying to peel that onion and get down to some feeling senses about how people feel about their finances, where they want to go with it, because there's so much emotion and anxiety tied up in it. There's even in some of the training courses I've been in for financial coaching, we talk a lot about shame, that there's a lot of shame tied up in money. So anyway, so this is a great tool that we have at Personal Finance Wheel. And basically what people do with this is like working with clients. Actually, Becca, if you could put this in the chat for folks, we're going to give this to you guys. And you can, if you can't download it as a PDF onto your laptop and work with it there, you could just take out a piece of paper and a pencil and make one for yourself. And basically, there are different areas of your financial picture in this wheel. So there's home heating, piece of pie. There's the insurance, piece of pie, your utilities, how much debt you're carrying, your credit, your transportation, your general overall budget, how you feel about how you're managing your budget. And this is, so basically what you're going to do with this wheel, what I'm going to ask you guys to do to participate in this, so you can see a little bit how we'd work with a client. And you can use this yourself. It's a really great tool. I love this tool. It's really helpful for me. But you can color in, starting at the center of the wheel, color in how confident you feel about these different financial aspects of your life. So, you can color in your savings area and color in housing, just, your personal picture on that. So I'll give you guys a few moments to complete that. I hope you guys are having fun with this. So I'm going to ask you if you would stop here. I want to be respectful of people's time. And you can pick it up later on. But if I can ask folks to share a little bit, you can either, share, if you could unmute and share if there were any emotions that came up for you as you looked at this wheel and thought about your own personal financial picture. And if anybody would like to share. I know when I did this, savings and specifically retirement savings was an area that I felt really insecure about. And that was a real eye opener for me. So, my goal at tax time is making sure I make a contribution to my IRA this year. That's really important to me. So that was an action step, goal that I set for myself, and an action step that I will take. Would anybody else like to share? If you want to share in the chat, you could do it there too. We'll take it.
I can share, Laurie.
Oh, thanks, Kelsey.
Yeah, so as I was doing this, one of the things that kind of came up was about home heating on our heating bill this month. You know, it's a little bit higher than it usually is, and then it has the average temperature compared to last year. And you know, we've been having a really cold year, so kind of the stress of like you can't control the weather, but you still have to pay your heating. So that was kind of coming up a little bit, and then also I guess housing a little bit. It's like stress about saving for a house. You know, there's lots of goals that I have, and anyway, so thinking about how do you save to maybe buy a house one day, and the kind of market we're in is a little stressful.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Kelsey. I also see, Diane, you shared shame that you're not yet heating with 100% of heat pumps, heating your home with heat pumps 100%, excuse me. That's, yeah. I feel guilty. I just had my oil tank filled up. I felt horrible. I really did. I felt horrible doing that, but that is the heating source I currently have in my home. So there's regret and shame, a lot of different emotions, but so I will move on. But as you can see at the bottom of this financial wheel is goal setting section, where you would look at your financial wheel, which is a visual representation. This is a great exercise for those visual learners who process information visually. That you can set a goal, you can see exactly where the areas of potential growth are for you to focus on. You can set a goal and something you can do in the next 6 weeks, and specifically it is framed in a positive way. It's an I will statement. So it's not coming from a point of loss. I'm going to lose, I'm not going to do this. So that's sort of a loss approach. So a coach would really try, to be positive. Let's look at your areas of growth, not a deficit approach. So, that's part of what we're doing as far as coaches. I also want you to notice another aspect of this is that it's time bound. Where we've got 6 weeks as our goal. Some goals might take longer than that, but by making a goal specific and positively framed and time bound, it really does help to make it something that's more attainable. And if we could go to the next slide, please, Becca. Another tool, and any of you guys who have kiddos out there have probably seen SMART goals with your kids' teachers. This is SMART goals are often used in education, and that is in essence what coaches, finance and energy coaches are doing. We are educating people, and we're giving them information and knowledge and skills. So this is a great tool, and my background is in education as well as nonprofit world. So I've worked with these SMART goals. They're really helpful, and they are specific, measurable, they are attainable, they are relevant, and they are time bound. And so helping walk a client through these is really wonderfully helpful. It helps them feel more confident in what it is they can do rather than just feeling overwhelmed. So even if it's, specific, I'm going to call Efficiency Vermont tomorrow and find out about heat pumps. It is, there's a specific goal, or, I'm going to, contact window dressers and find when the next meeting is, and I'm going to go and build windows for my house. Okay, if we could go to the next slide. So we really focus on our clients' goals. It's their goals. We work with their budget, their numbers, and we help them to create those SMART goals. And this is a sample of a really basic budget. Our budgets are actually really quite involved. We look at everything from, if you have a pet, How much are you spending every year to treat them with flea and tick? You know, how much you spend on your food? We're really digging down into it. Or if you are getting subsidies on things, those all end up included. We also look at money going out. So we're really digging into it deeply. But in this, we're going to give you guys another little activity. And in this activity, we have this hypothetical client, and our hypothetical client is Patrice. And I'll give you a little bit of background about Patrice. She lives in Barrie. So she is in Washington County. That's the region. She's a single mom. She has 3 kiddos. She has a toddler and 2 kiddos in elementary school. She's divorced. She works for a company in Waterbury, and she earns $67,300, which isn't too shabby in the state of Vermont. That's actually pretty good income. Her commute time is about 20 miles each way, or distance, excuse me. She also has an option to work remotely. She receives some child support, and you can see that in the budget. She carries the mortgage on her own, and you can see her mortgage payment with escrow and taxes is actually pretty reasonable. And she's pretty lucky. She has no student loans. The things that the numbers don't show is she wants to start saving for college for her kids. She's looking for ways to save money in her monthly budget. She sees that she is if you look down at the bottom, she has a deficit of $229.89 a month. And she's not currently taking advantage of any programs. She really doesn't think she qualifies. Her house was built around 1927. And she has shared in our conversations and the sort of getting to know you phase that her house is cold a lot, and that her toddler runs around without socks on. She's terrified his feet are going to freeze. She's also, also shared that her oil furnace is older. She also has, you can see this reflected. She is spending $390 a month on oil, averaged out from her annual cost. And she also supplements with wood heat and with an older wood stove. And let's see, what else do I have for you? She's heard about heat pumps and she's curious about them. She's climate conscious and she would like to make some changes. So that's the information that we're going to give you about Patrice. I know that was a lot, but those are just basics. So she's divorced, she has 3 kids, she's interested in heat pumps, and we're going to ask you guys to go into breakout groups, and you guys get to play financial coach. You're going to look at the, Becca, if you could share the finance wheel in the chat with folks again. And if you can act together to fill in Patrice's finance wheel and come up with some goals that you think might help out her financial situation. And I see a lot of nice information coming in the chat. So thank you so much.
I'm just adding the different resources, but then I will break us out into breakout rooms.
Great. Thank you so much, Becca, for your tech savvy on this.
Do you want the SMART goals in this as well?
No, you could. I think everybody understands SMART goals.
Okay, great. Then I'll get breakout rooms ready to go. Okay, and we're going to do them for like 8 minutes. Is that good?
Yeah, I think you guys have about 8 minutes. So have fun with this. Mostly have fun with it. It's just an exploratory experience. So have fun, guys.
Okay, I'm going to open all the rooms.
So does anybody want to report out as people are coming back in from the rooms? And Becca, if you wouldn't mind sharing back the budget sheet, maybe we could just look at that and have that as a reference.
On the slideshow?
Yeah, would you mind that? Thank you.
Let me say something about
Yeah, so the conversation that we were having in our room was more important than the wheel. We actually didn't color in a wheel. So does anybody want to report out from their team what they came up with?
Our very first thing was making sure that she's aware of programs, because I'm pretty sure you said she's not taking advantage of programs. So sort of a survey of what kinds of things she's eligible for.
Yeah, and I said it looks as if she would be eligible for the weatherization assistance program, and that would seem to give her the biggest bang for her buck as far as making her house warmer and saving something on her energy costs, her heating.
Right. Yeah, good point, Fran and Spence. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, she's paying quite a chunk in fuel costs here, $4,680 a year. And you know, if you were familiar with the weatherization eligibility criteria, you would know that she earns exactly $67,300 for a four-person family. That makes her eligible for a full weatherization. One of the other things that somebody brought up in our group was putting a percentage along the column with percentages, so that they could see, or the client could see, Patrice in this case, could see what percentage of her monthly income she was spending on these different areas. And then we could also look at her energy burden, calculate that out. And that would be information. So any other share outs?
One of the things that we talked about was how important the discussion actually is. And so that we were like, well, do we make an assumption because it's a large part, an outsized part of the budget, that's something that she's uncomfortable with, or that she's totally got down and like feels like this, okay, it's going to be there, she knows what it is? Or does she know what it is because it terrifies her and she thinks about it all the time? So like really having that like conversation is so critical and so key, and the sort of motivation behind why certain decisions are being made as well.
Yeah, excellent observation, Sam. Yeah, I think that's the important part of the relationship building that goes into the coaching. These relationships we're hoping to build one-on-one. It's not one and done. We're hoping that people come in, they have a one-on-one meeting with us, that initial meeting will take about an hour and a half, and we will comb through their information and each client will be built a budget sheet like this, which this is just a small sample, a slice of the budget sheets. They're much more complicated and have multiple pages to them. Not to intimidate anybody, it's just a lot of information, and trying to get it down on paper really helps us to identify the areas that we can help them access programs or reduce their energy burden, and really help to set those goals so that they're specific goals. And be able to prioritize things, because saving for your kids' college is a great goal. But if you don't have any retirement, and we didn't even talk about that with Patrice, if she has no retirement savings at all, that might be something as a financial coach, I would feel very responsible to say to her, compounded interest is your friend. And it's really important to start saving sooner rather than later. And like planting a tree, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. So putting away savings for either emergency or retirement, best time to start was 20 years ago. So
Laurie?
So any other share outs?
Laurie, I think a way to look at that is if Patrice were to go with the weatherization plan and cut that annual cost down even in half, that money she's paying it into the fuel oil could then go to the college fund.
Bingo.
And we'd have to elegantly put that to the client is, look, the money's here. We just need, once we fix this, then the money will come available and we can move it to that.
Right. Or if she's eligible for a child care subsidy, that $1,440 month
to
she's
knock
paying
that down.
that would also shift her expenditures. And I hate to say this, but the grocery expenditure, $1,400, that's actually not that high, which is like shocking to say, but a family of 4 really does run through, like $1,400 is not unusual for a grocery bill. But I'd want to make sure, like, does she qualify for free and reduced lunch? Maybe her kids, maybe she's packing lunches every day. So that's the sort of stuff we're really going to get into there with clients.
Can I just also add too, this is Liz again from Capstone, is that, the coaches are not necessarily going to be experts on heat pumps and where to put them. And that's really, I think one of the key takeaways from this program is that we can help people identify what is it that they want, or they think they want, and does that actually make sense for them, and help them, make the connection to, like in our breakout room, we talked about, well, one, we probably would want to make them a connection to the weatherization program. And the weatherization program, if they can come in and determine, does heat pump make sense for this house? Because it might not. We all hear about heat pumps and we think, oh yeah, let's all get a heat pump. Well, it may not necessarily work for, her house or the design of her house for maximum heating. And so that's, I think a big part of this is hearing about what they want, looking at what's available to them, and making sure that they're getting the best possible information that's going to help them have a warmer home or reduce their fuel burdens.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. That's great. Becca, can you pop to the next slide for a second? So I've heard a couple folks say weatherization, refer them to weatherization. And when I was building this example, if you look, weatherization family of 4, income eligibility 67.3. So she's right there. And that would, that handoff, we would give her a warm handoff right there and just send her right to weatherization. They could tell her if she didn't know if the house had received weatherization services, what the weatherization services can put in her address, and they will know if the house had weatherization services in the last 15 years, which, in this case, we're guessing not. But for clients who maybe their oil usage or heating usage is energy usage is not that high, to refer them to weatherization is a great first step to find out if your building has been weatherized or not. And if it hasn't been, you may be eligible. And if it has been, it's information. So that's really what we're in the business of, providing information and support services. Okay, let me just reorganize myself. I think now we've worked through that. I've also got some other notes here.
Laurie, it looks like Richard has a question.
Oh, Richard, thank you so much. Would you like to speak out, or do you have it in the chat? Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, just because somebody may not qualify for Capstone if she was over the eligibility, doesn't mean that getting weatherization is not feasible, particularly in this particular case. You said she was cold and she's using a lot of fuel. You got to include the wood in there too. She's got over almost $6,000 worth of heating a year. She has a lot of opportunity to, even if it's not free, with low income financing and weatherization, I think she could probably save some money.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Even if she didn't qualify for weatherization, if say she was just over, just over the income level there, or maybe she was only a family of 2 and still making 67.3. If somebody is even doing DIY projects, or like I think in the setup there, she has an older wood stove. Efficiency Vermont has a great program to get EPA certified wood stoves into people's hands. There's a rebate at the point of purchase. So knowing those sorts of details help, looking at this, budget and helping a client to navigate right to the services they need, get a warm handoff, I think that that's really going to be impactful over time, and that's really what we're hoping to do. You know, it's also going to, you know, if she was a lower income client and she's in GMP's service area, she might qualify for a 25%, I think it's 25% discount on her utility bill because she's low income. And she would just have to reach out to GMP and apply. And knowing that those are application processes that do exist, but knowing about those programs, some people don't know. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're trying to do. And if we could go to the next slide, please, Becca. So the key takeaways that I really want to leave you guys with, you know, we've got one-on-one client meetings. We've got free webinars coming up. We're ready to make referrals to other programs and services. Income eligibility is that 80% MFI or 120% for our BIPOC, new Americans, and single parent households, because they bear an even more disproportional energy burden. Clients can access us through the website, which we have just launched. Kelsey, if I'm not correct, let me know, but I think we just launched it.
Yes,
or clients, yeah, or clients can call the main number of their community action network. And I think I'm going to turn it over to you, Kelsey, for questions and answers at this point. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thanks, Laurie. And if we wanted to just move to the next slide, I do have the website. So it's greensavingsmart.org. You just want to go to the Connect with a Coach page. There's a big blue section with a button to get to the eligibility form that will just have a couple, a very short form. It's basically asking for a name, contact information, your gross monthly income, family size, and if you identify as one of those three subcategories, so the single family household, a BIPOC household, or new American household, and that will come back to us. And then if you qualify, we will get you connected with a coach. And then if you just go to the next slide. Great. And then here is the contact information for the 5 community action agencies. So if you would like to reach out directly, this is how you would do it. And then, yeah, I think we have just a minute or two left for any last questions. Let's see.
Looks like Richard has a question.
Yes, let's go with Richard.
Yeah, I was just curious, what, said what is a new American? What is that? What is the definition? How much time, how long could they have been here and still be a new American, I guess?
I don't know if we have a time frame. And Liz, if you wanted to jump in.
I don't know the time frame. I would guess it's in the last couple of years, so that it's sort of a first generation families that have come in. And again, so just so you understand, like, we're not necessarily going to be making people prove everything, right? Like, we're not going to say you're basically self-attesting. And I think that new Americans who sort of self-identify as new Americans, we will say are new Americans.
Fran and Spence have a hand up too.
Yeah, Fran. You keep talking about webinars, and I'm trying to figure out whether the webinars are for other social service agencies or whether they're for the clients, because I just don't see people with computer access who are really low income. How are you going to get them to the? I just don't see it. I don't see that as being a tool. And I want to know if you have experience using webinars with your clients.
Yep. So Fran, if I could just respond quickly before we run out of time here. Yeah, actually Capstone Community Action currently has two financial coaches that run a weekly webinar. You can sign in, you can join. They have different topics, and you would be surprised. People join on their phones. Some people call in by telephone. It does not need to be face-to-face visually this way. The webinars can really, the participation on a Zoom platform can just be a call in. And so it's actually so much more accessible because the majority, even low income folks, tend to have telephones. It's really surprising that cell phones have become so ubiquitous that this, younger generations than mine, everybody has a cell phone, and if you don't, you're very unusual. So even people on Reach Up have phones. They attend these webinars at Capstone remotely once a week, and they have pretty good attendance. So
Yeah, sorry, Laurie. I was just going to say, going off that, in addition, our financial coaches meet with low-income Vermonters for one-on-one, just purely financial coaching sessions virtually. So once again, it could be on a smartphone. It could be someone just calling in to a Zoom call or a Teams call. So, I mean, at this point, at least for Capstone coaches, it's pretty much exclusively virtual because of the pandemic. So yeah, so like Laurie said, we have not seen an issue with that presently.
And I suppose quickly, if we did, this is a pilot program, so
Yeah.
we will be making changes in response. So, we're hopeful, but thank you guys so much for your attendance. And Diane, good question. How can you help? We're trying to get the word out, but Kelsey, I'll let you take that one.
Sure. Yeah. Basically, we're trying to get the word out. If you have community members who you think could benefit from this, if you could tell them about our website and how to apply, that would be great. If you are part of a program or organization who would like to partner with us or think that you would be a good resource for our participants, please reach out. I did have my email address on the final slide, but I can put it in the chat. So please reach out. Such a big part of this program is that relationship building, not only with our participants, but also with the larger network of programs and services offered in the state. So very happy to talk more with anyone. But yeah, we're trying to get the word out about this program. We are going to start accepting those eligibility forms and referrals starting on Monday. So Monday, March 7th, we will be accepting those. So we're really excited to launch this program, and I will put my email address right now into the chat.
And yes, in answer to your question, Jeffrey, we can send out probably to Becca, who can maybe forward it to everyone, posts that you could put in for Front Porch Forum so that you could pass it along. That'd be fantastic because we could reach a lot more people throughout the state that way.
Absolutely. We'll follow up with some materials and continue to keep you guys aware of the program and how you can help plug it in your community. So, well, I know we're 4 minutes over, but thanks everyone for sticking around, and thanks so much to our presenters. This was incredibly helpful, and we're so excited about this program. And yeah, have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks, everyone.